Bolivia is a wild and vibrant place that leaves no one indifferent. The remote stretches of rainforest and the rugged orography of the Andean Highlands offer a canvas where people and cultures blend with luxuriant nature. The friendly and cheerful people are one of the country's most precious assets, and the true driving force behind such an amazing Bolivia. Spanish herpetologists Juan and Jairo Cuevas have come to Bolivia in search of the most venomous snakes in this indomitable land. They will travel across the high plateau and descend into the remotest jungles, collecting data on the snakes that inhabit this savage territory. To achieve their goal, they must capture a great number of specimens of different species. But without question, the greatest challenge of the expedition will be to locate and describe a new species unknown to science. A large viper of which, to date, they've only seen a single photograph. The expedition begins in a remote region located on the eastern slope of the Andes, a vast extension of unexplored territory where the Great Mountain Range silently displays its unruly domain. This is where their friend Bertie and his unique family have lived for many years. Bertie's house is located in the perfect habitat for snakes, away from neighboring villages and several kilometers from the nearest road. It is no doubt the ideal place to set up the base camp. On Bertie's advice, they will attend a community service in Bella Vista, a remote village where all the local peasants are gathering to participate. The minga, as the locals call it, is a deeply rooted custom in South American rural environments, where all the members of the community engage in a selfless cooperation to help one of their neighbors with some type of field work. People seem to be traveling from all over to join the minga at Bella Vista. Some relatives are even coming all the way from Santa Cruz. It indeed looks as if it will be a very intense and entertaining day, and nobody wants to miss it. They say that all kinds of snakes will inevitably appear during the field work, so this could be a great opportunity to find the enigmatic species they seek.
¿Y la cascabel púa es también mala? Por aquí hay cascabel púa.
Hay, la sal. Esta es mala, le pica uno y lo mata. Es bastante venenosa.
Sí.
Today's minga has brought together over 30 neighbors to clear this plot of land, which the owner wishes to turn into pasture for his cattle.
Estamos aquí en la localidad de Bellavista, que hemos venido a acompañar a un grupo de campesinos que han venido a trabajar en una minga. Ellos lo llaman minga y es un trabajo comunal.
Acaba de decir el hombre de allá abajo que si ven alguna la van a ver arriba, porque resulta que abajo con tanto ganado y el ruido de la maquinaria los animales se espantan. Le he preguntado y me ha dicho que si vemos una chuta.
Awaiting any signal, they will remain close to the strip where the workers are doing the clearing, ready and alert.
Ponle stick.
Not even an hour has passed since their arrival when the first snake appears.
pon aquí para pincharla.
It's a Mato Grosso lancehead, a dangerous snake that is greatly feared by the locals. This specimen is an adult male and fully capable of delivering a deadly bite.
It's a big
Está echando veneno, ¿eh?
Esto el nombre común se conoce como víbora del Mato Grosso, porque esta es muy común en Brasil,
En la zona de Mato Grosso.
en el Pantanal.
Más hay de esa que cualquier otra.
Esta es la más común aquí. Y cuando muerden, aprieta las bolsas y inyecta el veneno.
Pero si hemos sabido ver más gruesas.
Esas son las hembras.
Ah,
¿Cuáles son las hembras? Las que son más grandes, más gruesas.
las gruesas.
Si hay unas así, hay como este palo, eso así.
Sí, o a lo mejor son otra clase, otra especie.
Esa es cascabel, pero ya.
Sí,
Así como esta.
cascabel, sí.
¿Te va a salir eso? ¿Te va a salir de ahí? Porque la botella se sale.
Now the peasants are absolutely fascinated watching someone handle such a dangerous animal in this manner. They would all have normally killed this snake without hesitation. But today, the two herpetologists have come to an agreement with them to capture all the snakes that are found during the minga to study them and then release them far away. Although this species was not the target of the expedition, it still is a good catch to begin the day.
Está muy bueno, ¿eh?
Chicha nunca han probado.
The commotion caused by the first capture has barely ceased when a second individual of the same species suddenly appears. And it's right in the same spot where they found the first one.
Ahí está la otra.
Sí,
Sí,
sí.
está ahí. Ahí sí estaba yo, sí, ahí. Sí, siempre está dando.
Andan dos esas.
Sí,
Ahí está, sí,
la-
se ve la
ahí
cola, sí. Sí, 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 sí.
Está para arriba. Está para arriba. Ah, es más pequeña esta, ¿eh?
No veo.
Sí, está ahí, está ahí.
This time it's a young female of a smaller size. It's quite possible the male found before had followed her trail with an intent to reproduce.
La garrapata de cualquier animal o es una especie. Ah, cualquiera, ¿no?
Capturing and handling a venomous snake is always a stressful situation for the animal and for the snake catcher.
Esa hembra.
Therefore, all maneuvering must be carried out swiftly and diligently.
Mete la cabeza.
Once inside the bag, the snake hardly perceives what is happening outside and remains calm, as if hidden in a burrow. The triangular markings on the Mato Grosso lancehead's body reflect the typical pattern found on most neotropical pit vipers. This pattern is the result of an adaptive evolution that provides the perfect camouflage among the leaf litter. Recent studies on the composition of the venom of the Mato Grosso lancehead have revealed that it contains an enzyme which could be used against tumor cells and other ailments. The use of snake venom in medicine is nothing new. In fact, an increasing number of medications containing venom from certain species are regularly used to treat thrombosis, heart disease, and blood coagulation disorders.
Muchas gracias. Está riquísimo, ¿eh?
Muy bueno, sí.
Esto es comida típica de aquí, ¿no? ¿Cómo se llama esta comida?
Asado. Asado de chancho.
Asado de chancho.
De chancho el cerdo.
Sí, por el colorante, el color de la
As part of the tradition, the family organizing the minga takes care of all the logistics involved in an event of this kind.
Ahora creo que lo compraron o siempre lo tienen un poco lejos.
The landowners tirelessly devote themselves to making sure there's enough food and drink for everyone. Later in the evening, when the work has been finished, they will throw a party at their home with plenty of dinner and dancing. It's a joyful celebration that will surely last well into the early hours of the morning. There is no time for lunch to settle. The clearing work cannot wait and will offer no breaks. Neither will the snakes.
Otra.
It's another Mato Grosso lancehead, the third one. This time they found it sheltered in a small cave covered by dense vegetation. Juan will now try to bring it out of the cave with his hook, being particularly careful so that it does not slip away into the undergrowth. While holding it by the tail, it is of utmost importance not to lose sight of the snake's head at any time. It could turn in the blink of an eye and bite the hand holding it. Now they need to immobilize it by holding it by the head. But the viper is very fast, and as soon as it touches the ground, it shoots off downhill. When the head is held tight, the viper's deadly poison spears become nullified.
Otro macho, eh?
Its vibrating tail indicates the snake is nervous and stressed. However, this moment of stress will lead to safe passage to survival, as without Juan and Jairo's propitious intervention, this formidable animal would certainly have been condemned to death.
Poca carne tiene esto.
The Mato Grosso lancehead is the most common snake in this part of Bolivia. It is also found across Paraguay and the Brazilian Pantanal in both of the states of Mato Grosso. This species causes a large number of snakebite accidents here in Bolivia. This is mostly due to its extraordinary ability to adapt to human-altered environments, not to mention that it's also tremendously prolific, giving birth at times to up to 30 young.
A ver, escamas ventrales.
Before releasing the captured specimens, they collect extensive data on each individual. They start counting the ventral scales, which are located on the snake's belly.
Vale, para ser un macho está dentro del rango. Vale, vamos a contar las subcaudales ahora.
Then the subcaudals, which cover the ventral part of the tail.
46 subcaudales.
And finish off with the dorsals, which cover the visible part of the snake's body.
Tiene la segunda supralabial separada de la prelacunal, y eso es típico de los botropoides, de Hematocrocensis en este caso. Y luego mira, la escama, la banda postocular,
Sí.
tiene una franja negra fina por abajo, como marrón más oscuro, que es también característica. Está claro que es un Botros matogrossensis,
Sin duda, sin duda.
lo raro es que lo hayamos encontrado allí en la selva.
Entonces, ¿es la primera vez que ves uno en la selva?
Sí.
After a long walk, they've reached a place far enough away from any human activity, and it seems to be the ideal spot to release the snakes. A shallow stream provides a good opportunity for rehydration, which is much needed for skin shedding. The remaining specimens will be let loose in this inaccessible ravine, covered with lush vegetation. With plenty of frogs, lizards, and small rodents, this environment will ensure their survival. One very unusual species that inhabits the rich Amazon rainforest in Bolivia is the rare speckled forest pitviper. This semi-arboreal species hunts its prey coiled among the vegetation, laying in wait. And rodents are its primary prey. The extremely long fangs inject venom deep within, reaching the vital organs of a prey of such modest size. The effect is immediate and devastating. In just a few seconds, the mouse lies motionless, dead. Using its flickering tongue, the snake detects the scent left behind by the mouse during its erratic escape. And that trace will unmistakably guide it to the rodent's inert body. This male speckled forest pitviper has probably been fasting for several months. During all that time, he may have been following the trail of one or more females with the intention of mating. Their eagerness to spread their genes is so great that the males completely lose their appetite. Their stomachs literally become sealed, to the point that in their compelling need to reproduce, some specimens die of starvation. But such a fate will not become of this male. His future descendants are presumably already developing inside a female's venter. And his own survival is ensured with the intake of this first prey.
Bueno, ¿qué? ¿Vamos o no?
Vámonos.
Berti,
Hola.
que te pegan las sábanas, ¿sí?
Joder.
Breakfast is served at Berti's home at around 7 in the morning. It is essential to start the day off with a full stomach.
¿Quieres un poco de té?
Venga, sí.
Ándale.
The daily outings in the jungle are getting longer, and they will probably not have another bite to eat until late afternoon, when they conclude their search for snakes in the Palmar. Berti shares the house with his two uncles, the only ones in the family who did not migrate to the city. He, on the other hand, left the city to live here with them and lend a hand with the farm work. Now he wouldn't give up this way of life for anything in the world.
Y bueno, tu tío me dijo que hacía a veces asabais un pato en el horno.
También hicimos dos. Para mi cumpleaños y para el de él.
Berti, ¿y el tío Isaac dónde ha ido? ¿Dónde está hoy?
Claro, Chaco.
Se ha
ido
ido
al
a su
Chaco.
huerta.
A tu vuelta de ahí.
Bueno, vamos a ver qué anda haciendo Mingo
Nos vamos.
y nos vamos.
Todavía no.
Vamos, Berti.
Ándale. ¡Ay, mi mochila!
Berti, vamos.
Ahora me olvidé mi bota.
Vamos, Berti.
¡Y el colín!
Has olvidado la mochila.
Y luego la bota. Ándale.
Cuidado.
Today they have reached the southern slope of the palm forest. On instinct, they choose to inspect this abandoned pile of wooden planks, probably the result of illegal logging. Both Mingo and Berti claim that on occasion they have encountered a snake under the boards. Indeed, fallen logs are often the ideal place for snakes, and this certainly would not be the first time they have found one in similar circumstances. But it seems as though they're not having much luck today. The palm forest evokes an enchanted place, and even more so when it is covered in fog. Here, the climate conditions are unique. The jungle becomes denser and more humid. If there is any unknown species out there, this would be where it dwells.
¡Eh! ¿Sí? No corráis, que la tengo.
Juan has found a viper. It is the first snake they've seen in the last 3 days, and therefore the capture is truly exciting.
Por la pubita.
Tiene una punta aquí, justo en la punta de la cola. Es una hembrita.
At first glance, Juan misidentifies it for another similar species, also found along the Amazon versant of the Andes.
Estaba pasando por al lado de la piedra. O sea, le he visto moverse así un poquito el amarillo y eso ya está. Botrocophias microphthalmus. O andianus, o Botrocophias andianus. Estoy viendo que tiene una marca blanca. Esto es un andianus. Es andianus, macho. Mira.
It is a juvenile Andean pit viper, an extremely rare species of which hardly any records exist.
Y luego las marcas dorsales es de andianus también. Un Botrocophias andianus.
The Andean pit viper inhabits the montane forests in the Amazon versant of the Andes mountain range in Bolivia and Peru, at an altitude of between 1,600 and 3,000 meters above sea level. Snakes of the Bothrocophis genus have a particularly toxic venom that can cause severe necrosis, often resulting in the amputation of the affected limb. Moreover, no specific antivenom is available for this group of pit vipers, and the antivenoms used for other species are not fully effective. However, snakebite accidents caused by these species are infrequent, mainly because they stay away from human populations and tend to remain hidden. After a week of intensively searching in the palm forest, they leave without having found a single specimen of the new species. A change of scenery will do well, and will give them the opportunity to get to know the Bolivian Highlands, a remote and beautiful region where they intend to locate one of Bolivia's most enigmatic venomous snakes.
Estamos en el tren que nos va a llevar desde Santa Cruz hasta Tarija. Estamos atravesando todo el Chaco boliviano. Desde Tarija queremos coger un autobús que nos va a llevar a Tupiza, que es una población ya en alta montaña, en el altiplano, que es la foto que te enseñé.
Sí, que es ahí donde habita el Botrop Jonathan. Es una serpiente muy escasa y que solo tenemos 2 citas donde la han encontrado. Entonces vamos a ver si conseguimos encontrarla.
Tarija is the capital of the southern region of Bolivia. It's a quiet and pleasant town located 2,000 meters above sea level. From here, they still have to ascend by road to an altitude of 3,000 meters in order to reach Tupiza, their final destination in the Highlands.
Y esas víboras cuando muerden a las llamas...
Exacto, te muere, pues no aguanta.
¿No aguanta?
No aguanta.
En el mismo día se muere.
Sí, es exacto, ni una hora no aguanta.
Ajá.
Cuando entra todo a su cuerpo, se muere la chiva. Mientras con el otro, exacto, muere. Ni media hora no aguanta, pues.
El veneno...
Igual, ni vaca, ni llama, ni chivo, nada. No
el veneno fuerte, ¿eh?
Fuerte.
Fuerte.
Hay que sacar en jeringa así sana. Sana así.
Sí, y entonces su sobrino, la víbora que mató el otro día,
Ya.
la dejó encima de un cactus.
This loquacious Highlander tells how her nephew found and killed a large viper last week.
Estaba así puesto, estaba su cascara, su cuero se la llevó. Su carne.
Her description of the snake suggests that it could have been a Cochabamba lancehead or Bothrops jonathani, a pit viper that is endemic to Bolivia they're eager to find.
Hay víboras, pero ahorita no creo.
Difícil, ahora es difícil encontrarlas, ¿no?
Sí, ahorita es difícil. Febrero, marzo, cuando está lloviendo, ahí pueden venir. Y ahí está saliendo, cuando hace calor, sale.
Bueno.
Oh, ya.
Muy bien.
Ya, hasta luego.
Bien, hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Hasta luego.
Adiós.
The austral winter already looms in the Highlands, and this is not exactly the best time of year to look for snakes. In May, the temperatures begin to drop, and reptiles hide underground to find shelter from the cold.
Aquí es, si estamos aquí, es en aquella dirección.
They must find the dead specimen the woman was talking about in order to properly identify it and verify it really is a Cochabamba lancehead. There are only a handful of records for this unique species, so it would be of great interest to confirm its presence in the region.
Aquí es donde dijo él, ¿no?
Sí, macho. Ahí tenía la cabeza.
Miraculously, they are able to find the remains of the viper by following the peasant woman's incomprehensible directions.
Sí.
And it is indeed a Cochabamba lancehead, a virtually unknown species that was only discovered a few years ago.
Toda esta zona de aquí para abajo es hábitat perfecto para ella.
De 1509 metros. Y este
It is an inhabitant of the arid regions of the Bolivian highlands at an altitude of between 2,500 and 3,600 meters above sea level. However, this species has also recently been found in the extreme north of Argentina.
¿A la vuelta?
All the data they can collect from this snake will be very useful, since it is data on a specimen found in a new location. In addition, it will help complete the distribution map for this species.
Solo hay datos de recuento de escamas de 2 ejemplares de esta especie.
The snake is missing its tail, which makes it impossible to count the subcaudal scales. They will have to settle for only recording the ventral and dorsal scales. Their stay in the Highlands has ended. They must now head back through the fabulous Salar de Uyuni. Next, they will cross the mesothermic Andean valleys along a tricky downhill road that will take them to the warm and pleasant lowlands of Santa Cruz. These winding roads, on which people and goods are constantly moving, comprise the country's veins and arteries, and connect the larger cities to the remote and inaccessible regions. Now they find themselves in a secluded region where two very different types of habitat converge, the Bolivian Chaco and the Amazon rainforest. There is hardly any public transport in this forgotten land, and the roads are simply trails of clay and sand. Fortunately, the few vehicles that pass through here do not hesitate to pull over and inquire about these two wandering travelers.
Esto es lo que dice cerrado, ¿no?
Sí. Estamos a unos 500 metros de altura, más o menos.
¿Así?
Sí, así que...
Por aquí hay Santa Cruz y todo. No estaría mal, ¿eh?
Sería hostia.
This is undoubtedly an interesting region to find venomous snakes. One particularly stands out among the most feared, the Santa Cruz lancehead, locally known as Yopero jabobo. The impressive Santa Cruz lancehead is an endemic species in Bolivia, found throughout the departments of Santa Cruz, Cochabamba, and El Beni. The females of this species can reach a considerable size, close to 1.50 meters in length. Decades ago, this snake was relatively abundant in the region, but the non-stop destruction of their natural habitat due to human activities has decimated the populations of this species and many other species of reptiles, amphibians, birds, and mammals. This magnificent Santa Cruz lancehead that they cautiously observe is an adult female. Due to the degradation of their habitat, it's increasingly difficult to find specimens of this size.
Este es un ejemplar bastante oscuro para lo que es la especie. La especie suele tener un color de fondo más clarito, como blanquecino, gris clarito. Esto tiene 1,40 metros fácil, ¿eh?
Sí, o más, ¿eh?
Fíjate el tamaño de la cabeza. Una serpiente muy difícil de encontrar, Botrops santacrucis.
Y además esta especie carece prácticamente de banda postocular. Se aprecia los laterales, justo detrás del ojo, tiene la banda bastante dispersa.
Tiene la cabeza perfecta el Botrops, ¿eh? Bueno, pues la dejamos tranquila entonces.
Sí, la dejamos aquí tranquila.
Preserving the natural environment and the species that inhabit it has become an important endeavor for numerous associations and non-governmental organizations. This is the case of the natural reserve they will visit upon their next stop. A private initiative through which people of various nationalities have acquired adjacent plots of intact land to form the natural reserve of Potrerillos. Over the years, this place has become a privileged destination for students and biologists from around the world.
Sí. Entonces, Tony, aquí normalmente vienen estudiantes y biólogos a estudiar la fauna de aquí, de esta zona.
Sí, mayormente sí. Últimamente hemos tenido bastante gente que estudia insectos.
Ajá. Entomólogos.
Entomólogos, sí. Entomólogos.
Pero aquí igualmente viene gente a estudiar los pájaros,
Sí,
reptiles, anfibios.
reptiles, anfibios, sí.
¿Qué superficie de bosque hay aquí?
Total son 1500 hectáreas.
Ajá.
Potrerillo, que es la zona que controlamos nosotros, son 400 hectáreas.
Sí.
Después hay cosas pequeñas, más pequeñas, 14 hectáreas, 100 hectáreas, 140 hectáreas, 40 hectáreas, pero junto a todo logramos los 1500 hectáreas.
Claro, y está todo unido.
Está todo unido, sí.
Años atrás hacíais extracciones de veneno de
Sí.
serpientes
Sí.
para venderlo a Argentina.
La producción de veneno era para venderlo a quien lo compraba. Pero yo no logré encontrar comprador. El comprador me encontró a mí trámite internet. Él vino aquí, encontró el criadero, se fijó que eran las cases mutas y ahí me pidió veneno.
If there is one snake that instills fear and arouses fascination among the inhabitants of the South American continent more than any other, it would be the unspeakable Bushmaster. Its scientific name, Lachesis muta, refers to one of the three goddesses who determined the fate of men in Greek mythology. Lachesis was the one who cut the thread of life. This colossal denizen of the Amazon rainforest exceeds 3 meters in length, meaning it's the largest venomous snake in the Americas. The Bushmaster is also the only American pitviper that lays eggs and incubates them, guarding the clutch until the young are born. If someone or something comes too close, it will vibrate its tail energetically against the leaf litter. It's a warning for the intruder to stay away. Otherwise, she will deliver a killing strike. A bite from this snake has serious consequences that can lead to a fatal outcome. It is by no means coincidence that it's able to inoculate a large amount of venom with its huge fangs, almost 3 centimeters long. This emblematic creature is, by its own right, the Bushmaster.
Y has dicho antes que parte del veneno lo regalaste para hacer antídotos.
Sí, era muy poco que me pidieron de...
Years ago, Tony sold Bushmaster's venom that was used to make homeopathic products.
Ellos producen suero.
When production ceased due to a lack of demand, they donated all the venom in stock to produce antivenom.
¿Y alguna vez habéis tenido algún accidente?
Aquí no, pero vecinos tuvieron accidente, entonces vino aquí ver el suero. Hasta una vez vino un tipo llorando, picó la víbora, tengo suero, no te preocupes. Pero no era una persona, era un güey, una vaca prácticamente, que muerse por un botrops. Entonces,
¿Y qué pasó?
le puse el suero y no murió.
Se salvó.
Bueno.
Bueno, Tony, explícanos un poco el complejo, dónde están los edificios y todo eso.
Bueno, esta es la cocina que
Sí.
hemos visto. Ahí tengo un cuarto con baño.
Mira.
Anda. Mira el paraíso ahí.
Fíjate qué suerte. Aquí en la puerta de la casa. Cuidado, a ver si va a ser mi Cruz.
No. ¿Ves lo que te decía de la diferencia de... Una de las diferencias de corales y falsas corales es que en las corales los anillos cierran enteros. Las falsas corales tienen las ventrales completamente de otro color diferente.
Sí.
La utiliza para escarbar.
Sí.
Se mete debajo de la hojarasca.
¿Esto qué comerá?
Pues come seguramente pequeñas crías de mamíferos y seguramente que algún anfibio, también algún lagartito.
Bueno, dejamos que siga, ¿no?
Sí, vamos a dejarla aquí.
Aquí por lo menos estamos seguros que nadie la va a matar. ¿Verdad, Tony?
Aquí no la matan nadie. Bueno, se encuentra un micrurus, es el alimento preferido del micrurus.
Ah, sí.
Sí.
O sea, la coral se come a la falsa coral.
Sí.
Life goes on peacefully in Bertie's home. There's no hurry here, with the weather always dictating the rules. But Juan and Jairo have a very tight schedule, and they must once again take up the main goal of this expedition. At all cost, they need to get at least one individual of the new species in order to write out a scientific description and see their work published. But the days go by, and they begin to doubt whether the sought-after species even inhabits this region. Surprisingly, their friend Bertie will provide valuable information today that will give a new boost to the expedition.
Esta es la víbora que mató mi hermano esa vez en el palmar.
A ver si es la
A
que
ver
viste
si
tú.
es la que usted dice.
A few months ago, Bertie recorded a video of a snake that his brother had killed while they were cutting palm leaves. From the description he has given, they believe it may well could have been the new species. Juan can readily distinguish all the pit viper species that inhabit the South American continent. And the image that he will see in the small viewfinder on Bertie's camera leaves no doubt.
No sé cómo se da eso para atrás.
vale. A ver, déjame ver eso.
It is one fine specimen of the new species.
Aquí fue donde se mató la serpiente que ustedes dicen que no es muy común. Sí, acá están los huesos, miren.
La encontró aquí mismo.
Bertie has guided them to the exact spot where he filmed the snake that his brother had killed. There are still some skeletal remains that could be used to perform a DNA analysis.
O sea que aquí en esta zona no las podemos encontrar.
En esta zona, toda esta zona.
Aquí a qué altitud estamos.
The place where this specimen was found indicates that it is an inhabitant of the deep montane forest. This proves that it is a rare and scarce species and will not be easy to find. Now that the existence of the new species in this area has been confirmed, the most difficult task is yet to be accomplished. They need to find and capture a live specimen so they can write out the scientific description of the species by exhaustively compiling all the morphological data. Jairo has found something that seems interesting. There are two snakes together under a fallen tree. They look like a male and a female of a species that is fairly common in this part of Bolivia, the harmless false coral snake, which belongs to the Oxyropus genus.
Están copulando. Vamos a dejarla.
¿Están bombeando?
Sí. Mucho cuidado,
No hay que molestarlo porque a nadie le gusta que lo moleste cuando está bombeando.
Without getting too upset, the female decides to move away to find a safer refuge. And in doing so, she drags the male with her as he placidly lets himself go. After a 3-month gestation period, the female will lay her eggs in a sheltered spot that meets the optimum temperature and humidity conditions for a successful incubation. They have found another snake. This time it's an Andean pit viper. The specimen is quite large, so putting it directly into the bag will be risky. Knowing this, they will use an effective maneuver used by snake hunters in the past. It consists of introducing one hand in the bag as if a glove. Then, they hold the snake firmly behind the head with the hand inside the bag. Finally, the bag is turned inside out, just like when removing a glove or a sock, to trap the snake inside the bag with no possibility of escape.
Primera división. ¿Por qué?
Porque había 2 departamentos que nunca entraban. Entonces,
This morning, Uncle Isaac has hunted a hochi with his rifle that had been eating the yucca plants.
de cada departamento que nunca
In this part of Bolivia, hochi are considered a real delicacy and only eaten on special occasions.
Bueno, aquí está servido el asado de hochi. Para los demás.
Today, they're all celebrating a farewell meal because the expedition has come to an end and they will soon have to return to Spain. The genuine friendship that has been forged in this remote and unknown corner of Bolivia will undoubtedly live on for years. From now on, this will always be their home in Bolivia.
Está bueno, ¿eh? Una carne sabrosa.
Con la misma yuca que él se comía.
La que dejó, ¿no?
Es una rata como un perro grande.
They still have to release all the snakes they have captured over the last week in the palm forest. And to do so, they've gone deep into the jungle, far away from any human activity. Releasing the snakes in their natural environment is always a truly rewarding experience. It is also a great way to conclude this memorable adventure. And in spite of not having found the elusive snake that inspired this expedition, they have found other very interesting species from which they have collected relevant data on their ecology and distribution. The idyllic town of Samaipata is the starting point of this new expedition. After gathering all the supplies needed at the weekend market, they head out for the palm forest at Bella Vista. Local motorcyclists will give them a ride and carry their bags all the way to where the Palmar Trail begins. From there on, they will have to continue the journey on foot, following a 4-kilometer uphill winding path. The remote area they are headed for is located on the eastern slope of the Andes, a vast extension of unexplored terrain where the Great Mountain Range defiantly exhibits its impressive domain. The expedition this year will prove to be far more demanding than the previous one. This time, they plan to set up camp at the very top of the palm forest, an isolated location surrounded by dense rainforest, more than 4 hours away from the nearest road.
Ya estamos a mitad de camino de la senda que sube al Palmar. Esto es un desnivel de unos 700 metros más o menos. Y con el calor que hace, se hace duro. Jairo, ¿cómo vas?
Entrando en combustión aquí.
In this inhospitable and treacherous jungle, the palm cutter's camp is the closest thing to something resembling a home. Apart from the obvious lack of comfort, one can also perceive a unique fellowship amongst those who stay here at the camp. The kind of bond that arises when men come together to confront wild nature.
Hora de trabajar, ¿no?
Sí, hora de trabajar, ya desayunamos, a trabajar ahora. Está con un poco de sabor.
poco sabor. Le falta.
Ya está, ya.
¿Pero no has echado condimento?
¿Tiene?
Yo le eché ya, ahorita.
For several weeks, they will live together with the palm cutters, partaking in all the daily duties of the camp, such as cooking, fetching water, and gathering firewood.
Para irse con fuerza, ¿no?
Sí, con mucha fuerza.
Fácil, ya estamos, ¿no?
Me lo ha quedado de gratis.
No, no.
Ahí hay otro, ya.
These men come to the palm forest every year in the early spring. Their job is to collect the palm leaves that will later be sold in cities like La Paz, Santa Cruz, and Cochabamba. Traditionally, people hang them from balconies and verandas during Palm Sunday at Easter. It is also part of the tradition for a priest to bless the palm leaves to protect the houses all year long. They go through the entire palm forest thoroughly, covering every inch of the ground, making sure that not a single palm leaf is left uncut. But sooner or later, they will inevitably come face to face with a viper coiled at the base of a palm tree. When this happens, the palm cutter will invariably dispatch the snake using his machete. Indeed, there's a high risk of being bitten by a viper while working among dense vegetation, so every year a large number of snakes are killed during the palm campaign. But this time, the presence of these two Spanish herpetologists will hopefully alter this grim routine. The palm cutters have happily agreed to call upon them whenever they find a snake. So, if this cooperation works as planned, the chances of finding the new species will considerably increase.
La que vieron el año pasado era esta ladera, pero más a la derecha.
¿La qué?
La del año pasado.
Sí, era arriba y para aquel lado.
Every minute spent in the field increases the likelihood of finding something. They are certain that the new species inhabits this side of the palm forest because of a video they watched from last year in which Bertie and his brother found a large specimen while cutting palm leaves. They intend to stay within a shouting distance from where the men are at work, always on alert in case someone sounds the alarm. But today, it is Jairo himself who finds the first snake.
¡Juan! ¡Andianus! ¡Andianus! Sí, está enroscada.
Y no le has quitado ninguna hoja de encima
Nada,
ni
nada,
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 ¿no?
estaba así.
Tal cual.
Así, según está.
Pues está absolutamente dormida, ¿eh?
Y confía perfectamente en su camuflaje.
En cuanto se despierte, va a mover un poco la cabeza y se va a querer ir para allá. Sí.
Bonita esa, ¿eh?
Es una hembra.
Despite its imposing appearance, the Andean pit viper is an even-tempered animal that rarely tries to bite. Nevertheless, this snake instills great fear among the peasants who inhabit these forests. And there is good reason for their fear. This viper's venom is extremely toxic. It can cause severe necrosis, often resulting in the amputation of the affected limb. Moreover, no specific antivenom is available for this group of vipers. and the antivenoms used for other species are not fully effective. There are very few sighting records for this species, and hardly any studies have been done concerning its biology or the state of current populations. The distribution of this viper is restricted to the submontane and montane forests of the Amazonian slope of the Andes in Bolivia and Peru, and it is considered rare. However, here in the palm forest, it is by far the most abundant species. The last meal of the day is always the best tasting. At this time, when there is no hurry to move forward with the work, only rest and replenishment lie ahead.
Está bueno. Qué lujo. Ya se me va a salir el ojo, Federico, ya.
Today, the workers have stayed at the camp to prepare the palm leaves they've been cutting over the last few days. They gather the leaves in bundles of 100 stems each. Each bundle will weigh between 20 and 30 kilograms. How they arrange the palm leaves is important. The tender part of the stem should be positioned inward so that it is protected and will last longer without drying. This way, the leaves will still be fresh when they arrive at their destination. The palm cutters sell each bundle at a price that ranges from 150 to 300 bolivianos, which is the equivalent of $20 to $40. Although they must bear the cost of transporting the palm leaves with donkeys from camp down to the valley. From there, transportation to the city will be provided by the wholesaler. Later in the afternoon, one of the workers warns of a snake he found while cutting palms, and the description he gives resembles that of the new species.
Hay una enroscada, parece una hematobrosensis, ¿eh? Pero vamos a ver. Está
Ah,
súper
sí,
oscura.
sí. Ahora la veo.
Está despierta, porque está sacando la lengua ya. Ha estado un buen rato ahí dormida, yo creo.
They identify the snake at once. It's a Mato Grosso lancehead, a viper species they've captured on several occasions during last year's expedition.
Sí, está sacando la lengua, ¿eh?
Juan will now try to catch it using his snake hook.
Este es hematobrosensis.
He must maneuver with caution and stealth, as these vipers are unusually fast.
En cualquier momento va
Me pega un respingo,
a
¿sí?
saltar, sí.
¿La coges?
Voy a ver.
If the snake senses movement, it will try to slip away into the undergrowth. The viper has jumped off the hook.
Está aquí.
Now it's almost impossible to distinguish it among the surrounding thicket.
Sí, está ahí debajo. Aquí está, la tengo.
But at the last minute, Jairo sees it and skillfully manages to grab it by the tail.
A ver, espérate, la sacamos a un sitio más abierto. No se vaya a escapar. Que sube! Espera, aquí. Aquí, vete para acá, Juan. Aquí. Va, la paso.
Es una hembra, ¿no?
Once the snake is secured, they must take photos of it and carry out a detailed scale count. Afterwards, they will release it outside the palm forest boundaries, thus ensuring that no palm cutter will encounter it, as that would have a disastrous outcome for both.
Mira la postocular, ¿ves? Casi libra las supralabiales.
Sí.
It is quite unusual to find a Mato Grosso lancehead above 1,300 meters in altitude. The fact that this specimen was spotted at nearly 1,700 meters here in the palm forest is proof of this prolific species' enormous capacity for adaptation to the environment. The Mato Grosso lancehead is clearly a species in expansion. It adapts perfectly to the different types of habitat, even when the environment has been altered by human activity. But its diet is also notoriously opportunistic. Any living creature of the right size is potential prey for this species. Its extensive diet is comprised of insects, spiders, scorpions, frogs, lizards, other snakes, birds, bats, and, of course, rats and mice. As the days go by, the number of snake catches has steadily increased, and they soon confirmed that the Andean pit viper is by far the most abundant species here in the palm forest.
Mira, por arriba, por arriba. Es un andiano, ¿no? Aquí está, aquí está. ¿Cómo se camufla, eh?
This time they have found what appears to be an adult female.
Uy, qué grande, macho.
Ya ves.
Gigante.
Qué bonita.
Hembra adulta, ¿eh?
Sí.
Súper adulta. No sé yo si va a estar preñada.
This could certainly be the largest possible size for this species.
Una super hembra adulta, macho. Joder. Mira qué cabeza tiene. ¡Hola! Está moviendo la cola, mira.
Sí, sí.
Pon una foto, ¿no? Y la soltamos.
Sí. Tiene un machetazo ahí, ¿eh?
Sí. Esta ha sobrevivido ya a un palmero.
Today, the workers will be bringing down the palm bundles to the lower part of the valley. Donkeys are readily the best choice to carry out this unrewarding task, as no motorized vehicle could possibly pass through the narrow trail descending down to the main track. The value of donkeys and horses rise during palm cutting season because the few animals that are available cannot cope with the huge amount of work. The rest of the year, however, all other field work is now done with machinery, and only rarely do they need the help of these courageous animals. The palm cutters pay around 20 bolivianos, or the equivalent of $3 for each transported bundle. It's a price that they pay willingly, never bargaining, as it's clearly more profitable for them to stay here and make progress with the palm cutting.
Ya lo mismo, Chabelita. Ya, arrollale, lo mismo es. Ya carguémoslos a la otra hora y me voy.
Last year it rained abundantly throughout this region, and the trail to the palm forest became almost impassable. The willful donkeys sank to their knees in the mud and could only descend when carrying half the weight. But this year, there's been a significant lack of rain, and the trail is in good condition for the descent. Any worker who goes down the trail always carries a palm bundle on his shoulder, sometimes even two. Time passes quickly, and it is essential for all palm leaves to reach the city on schedule. People work hard out here in the countryside, often in precarious conditions and enduring terrible calamities. But Despite this, they never stop smiling. After a hard day's work, the donkeys are left to graze and rest until the next morning. And the workers take the opportunity to buy some food supplies before returning to the palm forest. Back at the camp, one of the workers warns that he had killed a viper while cutting palms. Upon examining the corpse, Juan notices that the snake had recently swallowed a prey. And in these cases, it's always interesting to identify the type of prey engulfed.
Es una rata de monte.
Learning about the feeding habits of a species through its various life stages is not only crucial to understanding the factors that may determine the proliferation of a certain other species that often become pests, but also the way human activity is affecting the delicate balance of the natural environment.
Esta es la mejor muestra de que todas las serpientes son beneficiosas para el monte. Este ejemplar subadulto de víbora andina se había comido una rata de tamaño considerable.
Rodents form the main diet of most birds of prey and snakes. This Brazilian lancehead, also known as caiçaca, is following the trail of a mountain rat. The rat has sensed the danger and quickly slips away before the large viper manages to locate it. But without realizing it, she has fallen into a fatal trap. The viper had chosen to remain motionless, holding out an ambush. And at close quarters, an attack by the caiçaca is infallible. In barely 20 seconds, the defenseless rat succumbs to the tremendous virulence of the venom and dies. Soon after, the snake begins to swallow its prey, head first. A piece of this size will keep her fed for at least 2 or 3 weeks, after which she will have to hunt again. Yet an adult female specimen like this could go several months without feeding and survive without major complications. At close to 2 meters, it is undoubtedly one of the largest vipers on the South American continent. And it is also one of the most feared and respected by the locals. The caiçaca is very abundant in the tropical savannas of central and southeastern Brazil, and it is a very important cause of snakebite in that region. In Bolivia, it is distributed throughout the eastern part of the country, in the region of the Llanos, near the Pantanal. Out there, its supremacy is unquestionable.
En la selva, en el sofá, pero está dando el sol ahí.
Ya está casi, ¿no?
Ya está. Un rechucho más y listo.
¿Y de sal cómo? ¿Cómo va?
Yo creo que bien.
The palm season is coming to an end. There are very few palm cutters left, and the hustle and bustle of a few days ago is no longer felt at the camp.
Hoja de ruta. Aquí da mucho el sol, hay que cambiar este sofá de sitio.
There's not much time left either for the herpetological expedition.
Bueno, a ver, chef.
Buen apetito.
And now that there are hardly any workers around, they will have to increase the number of outings if they want to achieve their goal.
Muy rica.
They have actually been going into the jungle at night in search of snakes for several days. Tonight, they will try again. They will leave just after sunset and will not return until after midnight. So for now, they'll just spend a quiet afternoon at the camp to rest and regain strength, savoring this wonderful Spanish omelet that Jairo has prepared.
¿Te gusta la tortilla española, Bertie?
Con patata boliviana.
Ya la voy a hacer. Muy bueno.
Night outings are often the best way to find wildlife in the rainforest. Under the cloak of darkness, animals leave their shelters to hunt and feed. The herpetologists must exercise extreme caution during these outings, since the vipers are more active in the dark of night, and the risk of being bitten increases considerably.
Vamos a bajar para allá.
¿Bajamos más?
Sí.
Nor can they wander off too far, as without any visual references, they could easily get disoriented and become lost in this immense jungle.
¡Hey!
Mira qué bicho.
Ah, sí.
Otro andiano, macho.
Pues no la veis.
Esta está cazando, ¿eh?
Sí.
Está delgadita. A lo mejor ha enganchado un ratón o algo y lo está buscando, ¿eh?
Puede ser.
They have been searching at night across the different slopes of the palm forest for almost a week now. And during each outing, they have always encountered the prolific Andean pitviper, but not a trace of the new species. Even though we are at the end of the rainy season, at times a thick blanket of clouds covers the towering ridges surrounding the palm forest, and a downpour unexpectedly occurs. Life comes to a halt for a few endless hours. Yet when the flood finally ends, the forest comes back to life with renewed strength and splendor. The increase in humidity in the environment in the tropical regions during the rainy season favors an extraordinary eclosion of reptiles and amphibians. Suddenly, the jungle is filled with tiny creatures beaming with life, although most of them will not survive for very long, because their birth coincides with that of the most implacable predators, the vipers. Most viper species give birth to live young in what is known as ovoviviparous reproduction. Newborns come into existence surrounded by an albumin sac, a soft, viscous egg from which they hatch at the moment of birth. An outer shell is not necessary with this type of egg, since the entire incubation process is carried out within the mother's own womb. This Brazil's lancehead will deliver 10 to 15 young during labor lasting several hours. More than half of the offspring will be females, and the remainder, males. Soon, the young will detach from the cozy gelatinous sacs in which they've been growing for the last 7 months. By this time, all of the nutrients contained in the yolk sac have been readily absorbed. So, from here on, they must hunt and feed by themselves. Vipers are born with a perfectly developed venomous apparatus, and their venom can be even more potent than that of their progenitors. The venom composition varies in neonates compared to the adult specimens, depending on the type of prey they will feed on during their initial stages in life. Newborn vipers feed on small ectothermal prey, such as lizards and frogs, which require certain venom toxins not present in the venom of adult specimens that feed mainly on endothermal prey, such as rodents. Eventually, the venom of these small vipers will undergo an ontogenetic change as they age and grow larger. For now, they will stay coiled among the leaf litter, waiting in ambush for their first prey.
Ya está el pájaro carpintero ahí, ¿lo estás oyendo?
Sí, lo he oído.
At the camp, just the two of them are left now. Most of the palm cutters have ended their seasonal work and have returned home with their families. They have hardly any food left, but they're holding up with coffee and some loaves of bread left by the workers. The accumulation of fatigue and their poor diet is clearly taking its toll. After 4 weeks in the palm forest, they're on the verge of exhaustion. But they are determined to go on with the expedition, and the hope of finding a specimen of the mysterious new species is still intact. Now they venture into the jungle every night to explore the northern side of the palm forest, an area where several workers claim to have, on occasion, seen or killed this rare species that they seek.
Cuando eso subimos a la loma, entonces.
Ahí donde dicen que han visto el ochonono, ¿no?
Es la loma que se ve allí.
Pero la parte de arriba, la parte seca.
During the daytime, they explore a different site, a place they have heard is inhabited by the fearsome rattlesnake.
Fíjate, Jairo, a menos de 1 metro de la senda, ¿eh?
Sí.
Por aquí pasa todos los días gente con palma.
Tomando el sol, es que es justo la parte que entra calentándose.
Esta está caliente ya, ¿eh?
Sí, sí. De hecho, en cuanto que ve que te acercas un poco más,
ya está avisando. Lo malo de avisar es que el campesino que pase por aquí la oye, la ve y machetazo. Esta situación de la serpiente justo al lado de la senda tiene 2 desenlaces posibles. Uno es mordedura en el pie de un campesino o muerte del animal. Y en el 99% de los casos,
muerte del animal.
Muerte del animal.
Hombre, es difícil que este animal te muerda. Tienes que pisar justo al lado. Pero fíjate lo cerca que estamos y no se ha lanzado todavía.
No.
Está a puntito, ¿eh?
The tropical rattlesnake is unquestionably the most repudiated snake on the South American continent. The subspecies that inhabits Bolivia receives a sinister name, Terrificus, a clear allusion to the enormous annihilating capability of its venom. Only when cornered will it confront an adversary, and always before launching an attack, it will warn insistently with the unmistakable sound of its rattle. It is the most widespread venomous snake in all of South America. Except in Chile and Ecuador, this fearsome creature is distributed throughout all the countries on the continent. Despite the bad reputation that these snakes have, the truth is that they prefer to move away rather than use their venom unnecessarily. The venom of the tropical rattlesnake is very different from the rest of its peers. It contains a neurotoxic component that affects the nervous system and a myotoxic component that destroys muscle fibers. This combination of toxins makes it a particularly dangerous snake, which is greatly feared in most parts of South America. But the Terrificus subspecies raises venom toxicity to an extreme. Besides this cocktail of powerful toxins, its venom contains yet another specific component that produces serious alterations in blood clotting, often causing a fatal outcome.
No parece que quiera morder de todas maneras, ¿eh?
No.
Está a punto de todas maneras.
Sí, sí, está bastante encendida ya, ¿eh? Ya no nos quita, ojo. Si quisiera nos habría mordido ya.
Sí, llega, ¿eh?
Fortunately, for this formidable rattlesnake specimen, nobody has walked along the path today. Otherwise, it would have been killed without hesitation. Now, the only thing they can do for this snake is move it away from the trail and release it into the forest. This way they can make sure that nobody will stumble upon it. At least not today. It has been a long and hot day, and it is already coming to an end. Yet it is far from over. They have been going through this dreadful jungle for almost a month now, and there are lesser and lesser opportunities of finding the new species.
Esta zona es buena, sí.
Now, in the tense stillness of the night, is when all the elements are working in their favor.
Vamos para abajo.
Seguimos el río, el arroyo, a ver.
¿Qué? ¿Qué pasa?
Jairo has seen something.
Espérate, a ver. Ahí está. Espérate, a ver, ¿dónde? Aquí.
It's a viper. And it seems to be different.
Es la nueva, ¿eh? Parece la nueva, macho. Vale, vamos a bajarla aquí. Sí, macho. Cógela, échala para acá. Que no se vaya para allá. Está un poco como para mudar, ¿no? Sí, parece. Ah, sí, mira la banda postocular. Joder, Jairo,
¿Sí?
bien,
¿Era
macho.
nueva?
Bien.
¡Ah, toma!
Por fin.
Es un macho, ¿no?
Sí, es un macho.
This is a moment of great satisfaction for both of them. Against all odds, during the final stages of this expedition, and after 2 years of dedicated searching, they have finally managed to find the enigmatic new species.
La lluvia que ha caído. Pues nada, macho, por fin.
Por fin, Jairo. Joder, qué alegría, macho.
Joder.
Tenemos un macho adulto. Bueno, tenemos que hacerle ahora
Hay que hacer el recuento de escamas.
el recuento de escamas y primero, luego ya hacerle fotos.
This is the first time that a living specimen of this mysterious serpent has been recorded on film. It is indeed a rare and scarce species. Having discovered this new species is undoubtedly an important finding in the field of herpetology, but above all, it brings immense personal satisfaction to both of them.
Joder, grandecita, ¿eh?
Sí.
Primer ejemplar vivo de esta especie. Sí, señor. Colmillacos tiene, ¿eh?
Sí, macho. Pues se está poniendo... Vamos a
¿Está poniendo nerviosa?
Sí.
Vamos a guardarla, venga.
Sí.
This snake is a species unknown to science. It has not yet been described, nor has it been given a name. The discovery of an animal species of relevance, as is the case of this large pit viper, is quite uncommon nowadays. However, new species of vertebrates are steadily being discovered around the world each year, which goes to show that there are still regions of our planet that harbor enormous biodiversity and have not yet been adequately explored. For this reason, it is essential to classify all the species that make up our planet's flora and fauna in order to preserve ecosystems and regulate the ongoing alteration of the natural environment caused by the direct action of man. After spending over a month in the palm forest, they can now say that this intense expedition has successfully concluded. There is no one left at the camp. All the workers have been gone for days now. Although Bertie's dog, Cachupina, stayed behind to take care of the camp and has been a dear companion these last few days. Now all they have to do is dismantle their tents and get their backpacks ready before walking all the way down to Bertie's house. But first, they must release all the vipers captured over the last few days. For this purpose, they have moved away from all areas related to palm activity, thus avoiding any future possible encounters.
Bueno, para abajo.
A great number of snakes are killed each year during the palm season. Yet despite this, the number of specimens does not appear to be declining. This is most certainly because it is a short season, of little more than a month. So the viper populations have enough time to recover during the remaining months when the palm forest is left alone, serene and unchanging.
¿Esa qué es?
Esta es un andianus, una de las hembritas que estaba ahí en el palmar. Hemos salvado la vida, macho. A ver, ¿dónde está? Venga, para allá. No. Ahí está.
Time seems to languish in Bertie's house. The frenzy of the palm forest has given way to the usual parsimony of routine, and now nothing seems to be of much importance. However, they have not yet finished their research work. Just today, some farmers have brought 2 dead specimens of the new species that will be used to collect additional data. Furthermore, one of these specimens will be designated as the holotype for the description of the new species. The holotype is the main specimen used in the original description of a species. A holotype must always be designated for a valid description. To do this, they will have to deposit both specimens in the Museum of Natural History of Santa Cruz. In addition, these two specimens preserved in formaldehyde will be available in the museum for any biologist or biology student who wishes to carry out future studies on the species.
7 supralabiales tiene. 2 cantales y 2 apicales unidas.
They will also take some tissue samples to perform DNA tests and compare this new species with other known species. Hopefully, this will in some way help clarify the complex phylogenetic tree of the New World pit vipers, an uncertain dilemma that persists today. In this serene moment of methodical data compilation, future projects will inevitably crowd their imagination. A new expedition in another country, and perhaps even on a different continent. But there is no doubt they will return someday to this amazing place where they have earned such genuine friendships. There could be no better way to conclude this memorable trip other than playing a football match with all the friends who they have spent time with in the palm forest. This practice clearly illustrates the old-style comradeship, something which is still very valid in this part of the world. In spite of the accumulated fatigue after an endless week of arduous work, just like every Saturday evening, they will play until nightfall.